All right. Good morning, and let's get started. This is the red convertible by Louise Erdrich. I don't know too much about this story other than it's about two Native American brothers. They had a car, a convertible car, a red convertible car, which now that I think about it has some, sort of nuances of like, the sort of sexy American car. Uh, and these two Native American brothers, right? Oh, and so actually, that's already helping me out. But what I already know about the story is that these Native American brothers, they had this car. Then they go to the Vietnam. They go to war. They go to the Vietnam War. They get deployed for the Vietnam War. They come back and things aren't the same. They're sort of wrecked, I guess, by that experience of the war. And so the red convertible car then becomes kind of like this theme or like a symbol of like the American dream. It's like what you attain as an American. But these are Native Americans, and Native Americans are sort of on the margins of like mainstream American society, in the 1980s. They're not really considered Americans, even though they are Native Americans. So there's that bit of irony. So there's some symbolic work there, I assume. So my predictions right now are largely, I mean, I think it's not going to be too crazy. Like, there's going to be nothing too surprising, but it's just going to be in like language and like the connection with the characters that we feel some more of that um, bittersweetness or that bitterness of like kind of not fully attaining the American dream. You have the red convertible, you go to Vietnam, and you serve the country, but that war was a mess. It was like it was that war kind of disillusioned America, that we're just being too overly active, like an imperialist country. We're being overly active beyond our boundaries. We're meddling in other people's affairs and messing their lives up. So, as a Native American who is serving the country, who's like living the American life, I still feel some sort of disconnection or some disassociation with this land that I'm supposed to be part of. Something like that. We'll see. I'm not feeling great today. I feel I just feel very fuzzy and a little bit sick. But we'll see what I can. Yeah, we'll see what I can pull up. All right, let's try this. Oh, let me change the format of this so that it's scrolling, and that makes it easier for you to follow along. Okay. Hang on, I think I have preset for this. Yeah, there we go. All right. So this yellow highlighter thing is where I'm like right now, I have the highlighter above the red convertible. So I'm reading the red convertible above Louise Erdrich. So I'm reading Louise Erdrich. All right. Here we go. Reservation. Okay. So that's that context right now. They didn't live in like an American city. They lived on a reservation. Of course, it was red. I just got I just blanked out on Stefan, and I read Stefan the second time. I forgot who it was, but Stefan is the brother, and his younger brother. That's me. Walks everywhere he goes, uh, and his that's kind of that seems like a bit of humor. His younger brother Marty, Stefan and Marty. So Stefan owns the whole car. I don't know what this boots filled with water on a windy night. He bought on my Oh, so he was fed up. Okay, so now I'm starting to turn on. My brain is turning on, and I don't know. I just have to keep rereading this paragraph for some reason. But um, okay, Stefan bought out the whole car. It used to be half owned, but now he bought out the whole car because his boots filled with water on a windy night. He was, he had a horrible experience walking around because sharing a car that kind of sucks. How did I earn enough money? Okay, Chippewa, Native American tribe. And the kinds of work that he did, like shining shoes and selling bouquets for for Christmas, you know, these are like this is like labor and sort of a like this is hustle. So this isn't like he's like some becoming some sort of lawyer in New York, right? So even the convertible, he bought this convertible washing dishes, and that's where my first big break came. So it's interesting now because how do you get a convertible from just making a couple bucks here and there? Now you're managing the whole restaurant, okay, the cafe, okay, part owner, yeah, and that's like the American dream, right? You become an owner, you become a capitalist. It burned down. Okay, that has that. You if you watched what's that movie? If you watched not burning. Oh, Minari. If you watched Minari recently, suddenly I'm just getting that vibe right now. Um, you know, working hard, it all burns down. I was only 20, lost it quick. So, huh. Very ephemeral, this wealth. Just you get it, and just as easily as it came, does it go. That time we first saw it, I'll tell you when we first saw it. So this is a very vernacular, we have a very spoken type of writing right now. That time when we first saw it, I'll tell you when we first saw it. Um, Excitement, okay? That must be nice, buying a car with just cash. Large as alive, really as if it was alive. I thought the word repose. I'm just gonna double check because I feel like I missed something. We never mentioned the car or anything. I didn't really notice. I mean, I kind of noticed it subconsciously, but while I was talking, I kind of missed it. We just had all our money. There wasn't a specific useful desire. That makes sense. It's a red convertible. If you just want something useful, you'll drive like a pickup or something, right? But this is just we have money, and we're just going to buy something. And this is an experience that the Chippewa, right? The Chippewas who don't really have the talents for making money, and he was unusual. That Marty was unusual for having this talent, right? This sort of consumer culture of American um, life within American life for people who can make money. This is something new. It's a new experience for them. Really, as if it is alive. This is exciting. That might not be relevant for all of my readers because you may have not experienced that feeling of being able to just be a consumer just for that moment. But that's what this is coming to right now. Just enough for money for gas back home. So they spent all that money. It was almost like a gambling impulse. We went places in that car, me and Stefan. Bit of that style again, the vernacular style. Okay, insurance money. And we took off driving all one whole summer. So, insurance money, so like a prudent decision might be to, like plan the next business, but they just spend it all on a road trip. Summer was not even half over. Some people hang on to details, but we didn't let them bother us and just lived our everyday lives here to there. It's interesting. Not sure how to process that. Ooh, one detail. I do remember there was this one place with willows. So comfortable. Okay, my eye just jumped to this girl, but like yeah, yeah, two brothers, a girl. Now we get sexy time. The girl. So all her hair was in buns around her ears. Now immediately, my first thought is this girl is a quintessential white American in Montana, um, and she's not Native American for sure, because we're talking about. Okay, so this is not something I predicted, but earlier, I was thinking about the disillusionment more, but right now we're in the sort of the fantasy, right? So here's the fetishization. You want to be part of white America, then you want to have the white woman. That's what I'm thinking is about to happen. I'm not sure. I haven't read this, right? This is my first time reading this, so we'll see what happens. So short. So that's surprising already. So short, her lumber shirt looked comical on her like a nightgown. So this is like, if I'm right, if this is the fetishized sort of the quintessential American woman or girl or whatever, girl in this case, um, then her being stupidly short is probably not like an attractive feature. So here we go. Jeans on and fancy moccasins, and she carried a little suitcase. Huh, moccasins. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe not white. Hmm. I was expecting the white because of the red convertible, like the sort of like the Corvette, right? That sort of uh, image. We'll see. We'll take you home. Where do you live? Chicken. Where's that? Alaska. Oh, so she's potentially also Native American. It's interesting. Maybe we just skirt around that issue altogether. I was wrong. I was wrong. We got up to Alaska. Oh yeah, dude, Montana to Alaska. They drove far with that girl. Okay, that's like days, and they went through Canada. Okay, you never feel like you have to sleep hard or put away the world. You just grow. That's an interesting description of Alaska. The girl's family really took to us. They fed us and put us up. We had our own tent to live in. Okay. Susie, now the name comes out. It's funny that they didn't get the name out till now. Um, Susie for short. That's interesting here. Just a little minor comment, but another longer name, which is almost certainly like a Native American name. Um, but they called her Susie for short. That's like the Americanized, you know, easy name for being part of the mainstream culture. You never seen my hair, she said. That was true. Now, this is genuine sexy time. Here's what happens. She These guys are about to leave, but she keeps them staying. all the way to the ground. Stefan did something funny. Jump on my shoulders. And he started twirling. So her hair was flung out. I always wondered what it was like to have long, pretty hair, Stefan says. Well, we laughed. The next morning, we got up and took leave of those people. Interesting. Interesting. Strange. Hard to know. Well, how much sexual tension was there? Very hard to know. All we have is a scene of Stefan putting her up on their shoulders and flinging her around. But these are two brothers, huh? And yeah, confusing. Hang on, I just realized I missed something. On to greener pastures, as they say. So this is that using the American idiom, seeking greener pastures on the other side. On to greener pastures, as they say. This is a sort of you can tell there's a distance between like my natural language as a narrator and the American idiom out there. So, there's a lot of, I think, points of like little points, like they're like little moments like these in the text that sort of indicate the sort of inside outside dichotomy. And I just remembered, I already kind of know what happens with the car at the end. I guess no. This is how I actually read it. I know that they're gonna burn the car or like somehow total the car. Okay, they're gonna sort of discard the car. So I guess that's partly where I'm getting all these ideas of like the disillusionment, right? And so if I'm thinking about the disillusionment with the American culture, then I'm seeing all these little clues up front about like, you know, I've attained my job, I've attained my store, it all burned down. I go to the war, I go to serve in the Vietnam War, I get messed up, and this car, which used to be this beautiful thing to me and my brother, I'm sending it off, right? So I'm looking for constantly for this tension between, the simple, pure joy of being an American and not really fight like of being a successful American, right? Or trying to be one and not quite really being that. So I'm looking for that tension, and I'm seeing that even in this sentence right here. On to greener pastures, as they say. Without putting up the car hood at all summer, they're just hitting that sun, man, getting that sun. For the army to remember Stefan had signed up to join it, and there's that signing up. If you sign up to join it, it means that maybe you needed a job, you needed a way to spend your time. The fact that Stefan like left his job as a mechanic, I forgot his job, and he just did this road trip means he's gonna need money. I don't wonder that the army was so glad to get Stefan that they turned him to a marine. He was built like a brick outhouse anyway. He's buff. That they wanted him for his nose. He had a nose like the nose on Red Tomahawk. Okay. So we have this mixed cultural reference right now that most readers, I don't think, would like know about. So, oh, they didn't both go to they didn't both go to Vietnam. Only his brother did. Oh, that's actually better, because only one person gets sort of that PTSD sort of. Well, we'll see if he actually gets PTSD. I don't really know what happens, but only one person gets wrecked. then you create a contrast. You have the car in between. You have a car in between. You have the two brothers. One of them is still kind of in his sort of fantasy land of like being like a happy American, and one of them is gonna go through a sort of harrowing process and then trying to recover from that. It will be trying to be will try to be recovering from that. and and I say Fantasyland because there's a certain way of like the way that he's writing is that pure excitement. Oh, let me tell you when I first saw this car, right? There's this pure excitement there that makes it feel naive in a way, right? Like sort of pure, simple, innocent. At least that's what I'm picking up, you know? I kept him informed about the car. So he's there seeing the war, seeing the napalm, seeing the horrible things potentially, and he's getting news about the car. And that might be a jarring experience, being at war. But or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you want to hear about the car to feel more connected uh, back home. At least 2 years. His car into almost perfect shape. I always thought of it as his car, though when he left, he said, "Now it's yours." He even threw me his keys, his key. Right. So, interesting. Who owns the car? That's kind of an interesting thing. No one really owns it still. They both are trying to give it to each other. Very different. And I'll say this: no good. Quiet, so quiet. So I'm one thing I'm realizing here is if you've not read a lot or if you've not like encountered sort of the effects of war on people, then this part might be hard to catch, right? Like if you've not seen documentaries or if you've not read stories about how people become after war, especially a particularly traumatizing war like Vietnam, where it was a lot of sense, where a lot of people felt the violence was senseless. It might be hard to catch like, oh, suddenly he's very different, like why, right? So it's good to have exposure to that kind of narrative, that kind of story as well. He'd always had a joke then too, and now you couldn't get him to laugh, and it sounded more like a choke. It was a fact. Stefan was jumpy and mean. Huh. Money still came very easy. Ah, I see. So this comment right here, money still came very easy, means he had no trouble like living that dream, that, consumer American dream. Just keeping going. So Stefan was the less commercially talented brother, right? Stefan couldn't just make money on his own all the time. That's why he even went to the war in the first place. Oh man. Because with black and white, the pictures seem older and farther away. So this is probably like, but what are you gonna do? He sat in front of it watching it, and that was the only time he was completely still. It sounds like he's watching coverage of the war. I'm not sure exactly in the 70s with the Vietnam War what exactly was coming up on TV. It's not an area of American history I'm like super super familiar with, but like, it sounds like he just got absorbed just watching what's happening in the war. He'd bitten through his lip. Blood was going down his chin. I wanted to smash that tube to pieces. Tube being TV. Shoved me out of the way to protect the TV. He didn't know. You don't know what you're doing. Oh, I told myself, okay. Turned off the set. He didn't even notice the blood until He was eating his own blood mixed in with the food. Okay. Visceral, very vivid scene there. Before it's just a description. Now we have an actual episode, and this episode, it's like you're so wrapped in attention watching that TV, and you're so, I guess, stressed out that you bite your own lip and you bleed. You don't notice, and you're eating it with your food. Yeah. No way would we get him there in a regular hospital. Now, there's the Indian doctors, no medicine, right? So we're talking about two different things here, right? We're talking about the Indian medicine and then like the regular medicine. And he can't get into the regular medicine, the regular hospital. Again, that inside outside dichotomy there. He hadn't even looked at the car. Though, like I said, it was in tip-top condition. Okay, so that, yeah, we're getting that symbol there. I took myself a hammer. I did a number on his underside. Oh, wow. Yo, this would be such a good movie. Oh, man. So, suddenly, and this is surprising. I mean, I can feel sort of like my sort of pupils dilating. I can feel my body just getting awake right now because, dude, he's going to destroy this car with his hammer. So there's this like pent up this feeling that's been. So the reason this is kind of surprising to me is that there's this disconnect, right? The words are like, oh, and money came easy, and I fixed the car up, and oh, we had such a good time. We met this girl, and it's just these memorable things that we did. But but this narrator doesn't seem to be fully aware of his own emotions. So the language of the narrator is very easygoing. It's easygoing. There's nothing troubled about the language, but suddenly we have this like internal surge of emotion right now, and he's. I mean, it's not totally sudden. We just mentioned he wanted to wreck the tube before, um, but but still, this was totally unexpected. He's just letting loose on this car right now. If this was a movie scene, this would be so dramatic. Rip the muffler loose. Any typical Indian car. That's such a painful little analogy or comparison that just comes in, right? He made it look worse than a typical Indian car. And now we get that contrast again on the outside, the inside. We have the Indians, the Native Americans on the outside. We have the regular hospital on the inside. We have the mainstream white culture on the inside. It's not saying it explicitly. We don't even mention white people at all. We don't even meet a white person at all in this class. In this story so far, anyway. But it's right there. It's worse than any typical Indian car. So typical Indian cars look terrible. Uh, and they live life on reservation roads, which are full of holes, and they get messed up, right? Unlike the normal cities where they actually fill in the potholes of the streets. It just about hurt me, I can tell you that. I threw dirt in the carburetor. I made it look just as beat up as I could, and I waited for Stefan to find it. Still, it took him over a month. Stefan doesn't care about the car, and I think that's hurting. That's hurting Marty. Marty, he says, walking in one day, that red car looks like shit. Well, it's old, I says. You gotta expect that. No way, says Stefan. That car's a classic. But you went and ran the piss right out of it, Marty, and it don't deserve that. I kept that car in A1 shape. You don't remember, you're too young. But when I left, that car was running like a watch. Now I don't even know if I can get it to start again, let alone get it anywhere near its old condition. So that must feel a little upsetting. I mean, Stefan, the brother, doesn't even recognize that Marty kept. He doesn't remember Marty's letters about keeping the car in tip-top shape at all. And Stefan also doesn't have any conception that Marty was so pissed that he vented his rage on the car. So for Marty, it's this very dramatic experience of like trying really hard for his brother and then getting really pissed at his brother, and Stefan doesn't even know about it. So that's upsetting. Well, you try, I said, like I was getting mad, but I say it's a piece of junk. Like I was getting mad. So interesting. He's pretending to be mad. Pretending to be mad. But he's also not informing Stefan. He's not letting Stefan know about his process of what happened. So his story is not heard to Stefan. Then I walked out before he could realize I knew he'd strung together more than 6 words at once. Huh. Crazy. Crazy sentence. That sentence is so much. This is him. This is us finally learning that this brother, Stefan, has not talked at all. Not talked at all. Until this episode, right now. This is the first real sentence that Stefan has spoken to Marty. And Stefan is working on the vehicle subtly. He's being obsessive about the vehicle. Maybe it's because it's something he can control in his life. He can't get back to a regular job. He can't get to a hospital. But he can at least fix a car that he had positive memories of. He was always out of that car. By the time it was really melting outside, before it got real summer. And this summer returning is, I think, a useful pivot back to that original road trip. So every time the summer is mentioned, we're just constantly subconsciously thinking about, oh, that road trip, that nice summer when we hung out, when we relaxed, when we had a good time before he got deployed. He was such a loner. Let's take that old shitbox for a spin, but just the way he said it made me think he could be coming around. We went out to the car. It was spring. Oh man, and as though it was so. Let me finish this paragraph first, but the feelings I'm feeling, I'll tell you. Bonita. I forgot who Bonita was, but okay. Sorry, I just got distracted because I have to do something else later. So let me just double check what. Oh, yeah, I didn't read this paragraph correctly because I was just kind of rushing. Um, my little sister Bonita came out. So this is the first time the sister comes out. Okay, made us stand together for a picture. So we have a family picture, a picture of two brothers, and this is supposed to be like heartwarming. But we know, I know, this is not gonna end pretty. So this is just that moment of, okay, we have a little bit of hope, but this hope of what's gonna happen with this brother, or these two brothers, is it's very precarious. Although this doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna. I'm not expecting that they're gonna like fight and just have like a total falling out. That's not what I'm expecting. I'm expecting the brotherly connection to come back. So they were together. They get kind of distant, and then I expect the brotherly connection to come back together. But through the process of the brotherly connection coming back, it's like kind of like voltage. The older brother Stefan, I think older brother Stefan, right? Right, because Stefan said he was older, right? That Marty was younger. The older brother Stefan goes through this like sort of harrowing experience, right, and has a sort of disillusionment experience, whereas the younger brother's kind of naive about it. And through getting closer, we're actually seeing maybe potentially the transformation of Marty, right, and Marty himself becoming maybe like through um, just like a pure transference. Some change within Marty. So I'm actually expecting, if anything, they go together, but it's definitely not the same as the previous summer where they were just, several summers ago where they were just like driving and having fun and they had no cares in the world. This is definitely not a fun summer that's about to happen or like a fun road, like drive that's about to happen. But yeah, but like, I'm hoping at least that they get closer together. So we'll see. Ooh, that picture, I never look at it anymore. That's not a good sign. I felt good about Stefan at the time. I was a little drunk and stoned. His smile had changed, or maybe it was gone. I couldn't stay in the same room with that picture. Okay, okay, my prediction is wrong already, it feels like. We just skipped over that drive. And we're focusing on his smile. It was so sunny, he had to squint. My face is right out in the sun, big and round, but he might have drawn back a little because the shadows on his face are deep as holes. Ooh, that's a grim and very vivid image. There are two little shadows curved like little hooks around the ends of his smile, as if to frame it and try to keep it there. That one, first smile that looked like it might have hurt his face. He has his field jacket on and the worn-in clothes. He's trying to put himself back together. He put that car back together. He's trying to smile. He's trying to get connected to his brother, Stefan is. He's trying to take this drive, but it's not, it's not complete. It's not full. We got into the car. There was a full cooler. We started off east because Stefan said he wanted to see the high water. The trip over there was beautiful. You feel so good, and Stefan felt it too. So this is okay, up and down, man. So we start at the beginning of the trip, which feels good. Then we go straight to after the trip, which feels bad. So there's foreshadowing now. So now we're back to the middle of the trip, and it's feeling good right now. So what's going to happen? Now I'm getting this anticipation. Clear, more peaceful. We're getting hope again, but this hope is now very tempered with like, what's the bad thing that happened? And I think they're gonna get send off the car in this experience, so we'll see. But I think I was wrong about the growing up of Marty. I think with Marty after this experience, he's just having to deal with a trauma of not understanding his brother. So this experience of this second drive out with his car, the second trip with his car, might not really transform Marty, but it might be maybe a release for Stefan. So at least that's something we could maybe look forward to. That's what I'm thinking of, because this is painful. I felt something squeezing inside me. Now I'm just watching the river, right? We got to the river. We're watching the river. Um, it was just at its limit, hard swollen, glossy, like an old gray scar, which might be kind of referring to Maybe that's like a reference to Stefan himself. I'm not sure. We made ourselves a fire. We sat down, watched, and I felt something squeezing inside me and tightening and trying to let go all at the same time. And this is some sort of feeling that's needing release. So I knew I was not just feeling it myself. I knew I was feeling what Stefan was going through at that moment. It's this awkward, uncomfortable, painful experience. Even Marty, except that Marty couldn't stand it, the feeling. I jumped to my feet. I couldn't stand it. I jumped to my feet. I took Stefan by the shoulders and I started shaking him. So Marty can't bear this pain that Stefan's bearing. Wake up, I says. Wake up, wake up, wake up. I didn't know what had come over me. I sat down beside him again. His face was totally white, hard, like a stone. So we have this river, this hard, swollen, glossy river, and then we have this stone-like face. Then this stone breaks, like when water boils up inside. I know it, he says. I know it. I can't help it. It's no use. We started talking. He said he knew what I'd done with the car. It was obvious. He said he wanted to give the car to me for good now. It was no use. He said he'd fix it just to give it back and I should take it. He's trying to give the car. And this is obviously this is a connection back to the previous episode with the car. And I'm just thinking about this, right? Like, hey, you have the car. No, man, I'll keep your key for you. It's waiting for you when it comes right back. And he fixes this car to give it back to his brother. Don't fuck this up, younger brother. You know, I think that's where my emotions are coming from. It's like, I went through this, okay? But you don't have to go through this. Don't fuck this up. I'm gonna fix it. You take this car. You take this car. And you live like, don't be like me. You live like your normal life. Right? Something like that. Oh, shit. No, I says, I don't want it. That's okay. You take it. I don't want it though. I says back to him, and then to emphasize, just to emphasize you understand, I touch his shoulder. He slaps my hand off. The brother is pissed. The older brother Stefan is just desperate and angry even. He wants to force the brother not to mess this up, to mess the past up, not to mess his future up. Just live that pretty life. Take that car, he says. No, I say. Make me, I say. And then he grabs my jacket and rips the arm loose. I get mad. So they do fight. This is not what I was expecting. He jumps up and bowls me over. We go down in a clinch and come up swinging hard for all we're worth with our fists. But it makes sense that they're fighting. I mean, the younger brother had like physical violence. It came up with the TV. He almost wanted to break. Then the car, which he does break. And then now he's trying to break his brother. He's trying to break. The younger brother's perspective is, you just come be normal again, right? Just be normal again is kind of the frustration of Marty. And so they're just fighting. He socks my jaw so hard I feel like it swings loose. Then I'm at his rib cage. I had a good one. So his head snaps back. They're both hurt. He's dazzled, full of tears and blood. And he's crying, I think, at first, but now he's laughing. Take good care of it. Okay, I says, no problem. I started laughing too. I mean, I think this happens more in you've seen this laughter after this anger. I think you've probably seen this. Like, I think if you've read some books and if you've experienced some life, some fights, sometimes you just break out. And yeah. I guess I don't feel as impacted by this because I guess I've seen this kind of twist multiple times. So let's keep going. Hoof and mouth disease cracks me up. We're really laughing. The beers. Throw them in the river. I'm an Indian, he shouts after a while. Interesting. That's an interesting sentence. I need to come back to that, honestly, to understand it more. But interesting sentence. Ooh, I'm on the love path. I'm off for loving. I think it's the old Stefan. Like a fancy dancer. I think fancy dancer is a specific word for a specific era. Grouse dance, bunny hop, no kind of dance I ever saw before. Something silly. He's wild. He wants to pitch whoopee. God, cool me off. And he runs and jumps in. There's boards and other things. And I know he didn't swim there, but the current took him. It's far. I hear his voice, though, very clearly across. My boots are filling, he says. Huh. It's dark. I feel dark again. Then he's gone. Another branch. And off the snap. The sun is down. I walk back to the car. Oh my God. This is the end? He's sending the car off. And then there's only the water. The sound of it going and running and going and running and running. You know, I should have anticipated the suicide. It's not quite a suicide, right? It's very hard to tell whether that was a suicide. My boots are filling. Which is also a throwback to originally when the boots filled and he gets the car. Oh, that is so painful. And then Marty is... So there's no resolution. The brother has a moment of kind of a return to his personality, but it can't live. It's too fragile to live in the reality. So he captured you capture that moment. The text, in the story, he's just that, and he's gone, like a memory. But Marty now has to live with it. So if anything, originally I predicted Marty would have a change within himself, right? Becomes close, like hopefully they get a connection back together, and through this connection Marty kind of changes and becomes more mature. That's kind of what I was thinking. Then I realized, well, Marty doesn't go through that. Marty has a very bitter memory of this experience. So I was thinking, maybe some sort of, maybe not an overt fight. So that was the second prediction. That was wrong as well. But there was a fight. But then the big surprise was after the fight, they become normal for a moment. They become like their old selves for a moment. So my predictions were all off, and I didn't actually make a prediction after the fight. I should have stopped to make a prediction for after the fight, but if I had to make a prediction, maybe I would have seen this suicide, maybe I wouldn't have, I don't know. But something bad, right? They become normal again, and then something bad happens for Marty to want to put the photo away after this experience. But it turns out it was the death of his brother. And then he sends the car away with the brother. He gives the car back to his brother, in a way, maybe. Wow, that was painful. That was so heartbreaking. I gotta go, but man, that was a really good story. It's very understated. The language is not particularly like wrought. It wasn't like fancy or anything. It didn't really bring it out. Bring out the language itself didn't bring out the contrast, the conflict. or like the experience. What it was is actually the contrast with language and the actual emotional like life of these characters brought out the pain. So yeah, man, that was really good. I'll see you guys in the next one.